Hello and welcome to another Vintage Day. This is Luann and I'm joined today with Paige Graham, the wonderful editor of our magazine, Another Vintage Day. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Matter of fact, today we're going to cover some topics from the current issue that's out. So what's our topic today, Paige?
Well, today we are going to talk about North versus the South, Halloween and Thanksgiving. Because talk about two polar, no pun intended, opposite, diametrically opposed environments to do any type of outdoor activity. I mean, Halloween, of course, you had to probably bribe a sibling, once you started getting a little bit older and you had older siblings to take you trick-or-treating, because mom and dad just got home from work. Both my parents worked, so most like most people. And by the time they got home, they were like, really? We have to go do that now? So, and, we just went in our neighborhood. It's not like today where people don't necessarily go in their own neighborhoods. They go to other people's neighborhoods where they may have a chance of getting better candy or whatever.
Yeah, the expensive neighborhoods.
Yeah. But most of the time when we did Halloween, it was just so hot. I mean, in the South, it is still 85 degrees during the day on Halloween. And you didn't even though you really wanted to wear a sweater and you really wanted to wear all these cute winter clothes, it just was not going to happen. Not if you didn't want your sugary self to melt. So we wore very, very light Halloween costumes, or our school had a carnival of some kind and you would go and do the typical things like a cakewalk. I don't remember when was the last time I even saw a cakewalk.
My God, I know you could take a whole cake.
I know, not that I got to eat it, but I got it
all the time, but I never ever won.
I won one time and my mother took it and put it in the freezer. So, well, she knew what I was going to do because I'm a serious sweet tooth person. So, yeah, that. And this was back in the day when they could take you, when the police would show up with the paddy wagon and they would take you on paddy wagon rides. And, it wasn't
paddy wagon.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they would take you on the paddy wagon rides and they'd have everybody in a little seat belt. You weren't allowed to be in the back of the paddy wagon, but you got to go on a little ride that was probably a little bit more reckless than the normal driving, except unless you were my mother, who only knew one speed, which was, haul butt. No one wanted to ride with my mother. But anyway, I mean, we did things like that, and we had bobbing for apples. What we would think of, I guess, our age range would think of as the stereotypical things you did. And when researching, except for the paddy wagon part, when researching the Halloween stuff for the magazine, for the history of Halloween and the things that people did in the past, there were a lot of things that we did growing up that they did back then, but I think a lot of it's died off. What was it like for you? I mean, because you probably had to bundle up in parkas and stuff. I don't know if anybody can even see your outfit.
Oh, yeah. So Halloweening in North Dakota was pretty crazy because you had to get your Halloween outfit large enough to go over your full zip up snowmobile suit. Or you were going to freeze to death. So the idea of wearing, like a little fairy costume or something like that, totally out of the question. It was not going to happen because, and I realize now that I was much shorter then, but I can remember wading through hip-high snow trying to get to the houses to go trick-or-treating.
Yeah, no.
And then it was also a situation where, okay, we had our farm next to the little town where, all the family was and everything else. But my dad had taken a job at the air base, so we had a little Blue Moon trailer in the big city. But my mother didn't want us to go trick-or-treating in the big city because considered it dangerous. So she'd haul us all up when we would go drive, no matter what day of the week it was, Halloween fell on, we'd go out to our little small town and we would go trick-or-treating with our cousins in a little town where a lot of the people, especially the older gals, had a piece of paper that you actually signed your name when you picked up your candy. So she knew what families had visited her house.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it was,
Accountability, even back then.
oh yeah, and it was a lot of homemade things,
Mhm.
which, that as we grew up, that really became a problem. Everything had to be sealed because of all the stupid things people were doing. But, homemade popcorn balls and
Mhm.
cookies and all kinds of really fun things. And I really, really do miss those days. The security or the
Yeah.
America as I used to know it. Yeah,
Right.
there's really a lot of things in America that weren't great at that time, but in my world, they were pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember the television stations when I was in high school recommending that parents take their children's candy to the ER, and that for free they would run it through the x-ray machine to make sure there wasn't anything done to it, like a pin stuck in it or something. I mean, who does that? I mean, it's Halloween. If you don't want people to come to your house, turn your light off, you know, don't buy any candy. But I mean, they were doing things like putting razor blades inside the popcorn balls. And I mean, why would you do that? It didn't make any sense.
Just real true disgruntled person in life. But I have to tell you about a couple of interesting, shall we say, donations to your little plastic pumpkin.
Oh my.
So
Inappropriate things?
no. In our little town out there, if they had forgotten to get candy was a 45-mile drive to go get. So one way,
Right.
So a lot of times we would get change. So it wasn't just candy, we got money.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's
But
cool.
I also have to relay a story because I have a question for you. I want to know if this is a real thing. If it's a Southern thing.
Okay.
Okay. My friend Joy shared with me a trick-or-treating event when she was young. And she was in the service with her father. So they traveled around a lot. And this is in one of the Southern states. She can't quite remember which one it was, but they usually did all of their trick-or-treating on the base. Well, the mothers decided that they wanted to take them out into the real town and experience trick-or-treating. So here they are with their little pillowcases and going around. And I thought pillowcases was a new thing, but I don't know. Anyway, they went up to this house, lots of big old houses, and they went up there and they're like, trick or treat. And this older guy looks at him and goes, huh? Trick or treat. And he walks back into the house, apparently, and I hope I got the story correct. Goes to the dining room table where I think there was a family at, comes back with a plate of pork chops. And plop, plop, plop.
I can see that
Is this
happening.
a Southern thing?
Not a I would not say that's a regular occurrence on Halloween, but it wouldn't surprise me if an old crotchety man did something like that, because he probably didn't he probably forgot that it was Halloween to begin with and couldn't care less about it, but you were there, so he was going to be hospitable.
Well, and then again is, you give the very best of what you have, and a cut of meat would be the very best of what you have. So, that's a good kindness out of his heart, but that kind of put the end to their
He could
trick
have
or
just
treat.
said, I don't observe Halloween, and been done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Obviously he didn't have candy. That's hilarious. I love that.
not a Southern thing. Okay.
No, I would not say it's a typical Southern thing. It's not something that would surprise me, but yeah, not typical, especially if you were in a bigger town that was close to a military base. That's kind of odd.
I don't know.
It's kind of weird, but hey, I might have been excited about a pork chop. So,
but she's saying how it was leaking all over their,
oh,
candy and their
yeah, I bet
pillowcase.
so. A
That
little
was
bit
it.
tinged, yes. And the pillowcase was probably never the same.
No,
No.
no.
I'm sure it was somehow pan fried. So,
Yeah, exactly. She said it was pan fried and dripping with grease. So, but
yep.
I guess I'm very envious of the fact that you got to wear all those or could wear all those pretty little frilly outfits, you know.
I was
Well,
very, I was very fortunate in that my grandmother was a sewer.
mhm.
And one year, much to my chagrin, I was way too old. But there was a costume contest at my school, and my younger sibling uh, wanted to participate, and my parents made me participate. So they made a costume for her where she looked like a sheep, and I was little Bo Peep. And I had a real, I know, right? You can just envision, complete with bows and the little hat thing with the
I would kill for a
bet
photo.
you would. I'm sure that my cousin in Dallas has evidence. But we won the contest, by the way. But
How old
yeah,
were you?
we did not do a lot of store-bought costumes. It was stuff that my grandmother usually made. Um, I would have loved to have been a fairy and flitted around. I always thought it was so cool that people had the mask, with the cutout eyes and the nostrils where you could breathe. I didn't get that. So
Well,
and now thinking back in our neck of the woods, that was probably extremely hot.
they were, even where we were, they were hot and they were very dangerous because it just brought back a memory to me that we were trick-or-treating with my cousin and they had just pulled some big concrete steps out of some place around their house. So there's these big concrete things by the side of their road. It's dark. We're coming home. She's older than I am by a few years, and it's me and my brother. And he's getting behind us. So he's trying to run to catch up. And he ran right into these things with his mask on, face planted straight down onto it. And he still has the scars today. And so that ended the Halloween. So again, we were out in the middle of nowhere. It was many miles to the closest, hospital or anything that could stitch him up for the night. So, and then it was nowadays, I'm getting pretty old, but for many years now, it's been don't wear a mask, paint your face. And I can see now
I can
why.
understand that those masks, the eye holes were not big enough.
Or in the right spot.
Right, exactly. And they definitely weren't, cut to fit someone's face. They were just universal. So it didn't matter if you had a little bitty face, then, your eyes may be here, So, yeah, I just thought that when we were doing the research, I found some things that we added into the article that I thought were so cool that we just don't do anymore. One of which was, I'm going to share my screen. One of which was the postcards. They used to have postcards, and the interesting thing was that, oh goodness, we have gotten all kinds of stuff going on here. Hate it when this thing happens. But let me get out of this. Let's see if I can get out of this.
Oh, technology.
Don't you know it? It just messes me up every time. So let me see if I
Well,
don't
while
know.
you're looking for that, for me, it was the fact of how it was really an adult holiday.
Yes.
It
Yes.
wasn't centered around children. You put them to bed and the adults went out and had a good time.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see what this is. Get out of this. I'm gonna move this camera a little bit so I can see. Well, I don't know. Let me see. It says I'm sharing my screen, so I'm just going to share this, and you'll have to tell me if you can see the pictures. Can you see the
Yes.
pictures of the postcards?
Yes.
I just thought these were the sweetest little postcards. And
Mhm.
we don't send, no one really, I see Halloween cards and stuff in the Hallmark store, but I don't think I really, unless I know someone like my friend Heidi that lives in Florida, she lives for all things Halloween. She could do Halloween year round. Um, and I would send her a card, but there are very few people I know that I would just send a card to. But how much fun are these? I mean, look at this precious little girl holding the kitty, and then the big
This-
kitty over here with the witch behind it. I mean, these are just fun.
They're real works of art. And,
Yes.
back in those days, we didn't have all this. You didn't pick up the phone and call people. You wrote, and this was just another something unique to put in the mail when you kept in contact with your friends and family.
Right, exactly. The other thing is the some of the stuff that we did, I thought it was interesting to find out that they actually bobbed for apples
Mm-hmm.
even way back then. And I was looking at we found this piece of artwork that showed these people in these elaborate formal gowns. And this gal does not even care if her shawl is getting wet. She is ready. She is competitive, evidently, and she's going to get this apple. And, it's not just I mean, ours were in some galvanized tub,
Yes.
it was nothing fancy, but this isn't a really fancy, and this is indoors. We always had to bob for apples outdoors. So I just thought this was really cool. And then some of the other stuff, what were the other things that we found out that had a lot to do with determining who you were going to marry?
Right. There was
What were some of those? Those were really kind of cool stories.
which could probably scare you too. First of all, do you want to know?
Right.
It's like walking into a room and look in a mirror and hold a candle, and you're supposed to see the reflection of your betrothed or something. And I
Right.
think if you didn't see it, you weren't going to get married. There was some about you were going to marry another version of something they did where you find out if you're going to get married, if it's going to be a single man or a widower. Because
Right.
and some of those things, when you think about it, being a widower may have been after the times of the other pandemics, and a lot of
Right.
men lost their wives.
That's a good point. That's a good point. There was another one where they were, anytime I think about chestnuts and stuff, I think Christmas,
Mhm.
but they were placing nuts on a fire grate.
Oh, yeah.
And according to how the nut reacted to the heat, if it like kind of skittered off and shriveled up, then whoever you were currently thinking you were in love with was not loyal. But if it stayed around and it didn't do that, then evidently you were with the right person. I mean, I just thought that was, and I mean, can you imagine just staring at a grate and looking at chestnuts? I mean, I thought that was kind of funny.
This was probably high entertainment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, and then the other thing that I thought of was the costumes, the elaborateness of some of the costumes. I mean, you can see these ladies are really wearing some fancy dresses, but in a book that we found, some of the costumes were, well, I don't know what that was and why it did that, but that's not what I chose. I tell you what, there we go. I mean, some of the costumes were really elaborate. Like this lady, she's in a hornet costume. And the book that we found that talked about the costumes told you exactly how to make it, like step-by-step instructions, gave you this color plate to let you know what it should look like. If I tried to do that, mine would not turn out that way. But the other one that I really liked was the magpie. And there it went again. I tell you what, technology today is not working for me. And I don't know where she went.
Well, there was also that great article that Laree Johnson has in the magazine, and it is about the costumes that they would cut paper and hand sew on.
Yes.
Are we in a 9/11 memorial moment?
Yeah. There we go. Phew. Whew. So got out of that one. Maybe I'll hit the right screen this time when I share, because we were going to talk also about Thanksgiving traditions and what your traditions were like compared to what ours were like in the South. What kinds of things did you do?
Well, after reviewing some of the recipes and sampling them, I'm pretty sure everybody in the South is flat out tipsy whipsy compared to us in the North. I mean, we had no alcohol in any of our food. If you take that picture in your mind of Norman Rockwell with the family lined up and somebody's carving the turkey, yeah, that's us. Yep.
Well, it was still warm enough that we could play outside in short sleeves most of the time. And then when my cousins came from Dallas, then it was more of the Norman Rockwell kind of thing. I mean, we had my aunt and uncle. I had 4 cousins. There was me and my younger sibling. And then when my half sisters were living with us, we had I had 2 older sisters that were in high school. So it was quite a crowd. And of course, then we had, I don't know if you had this, but we had
What
the
do you
adult
consider
table.
what do you consider quite a crowd?
I would say probably about 20 people. Oh, you were saying that's nothing compared to what you had?
That's a good getting started.
Oh, okay. Well, did you have the children's table and the adult table?
I say it was Norman Rockwell just in the feel of how everything was happening. We didn't have one long table, and it was a very tiny house. And my Aunt Patsy did it every year. And she did the turkey and all the trimmings. And then she got up the morning of, and dinner was always at 2:00, and made, I kid you not, probably close to 20 pies that morning.
Oh my God.
After she'd been up all night making the turkey dinner.
Yeah, no.
You name it, she had it.
And did you have stuffing or did you have dressing?
Oh, stuffing.
Oh, see, we have dressing in the South. I don't know why.
Because you're so formal.
I guess that must be what it is. Yes. You can tell by the way that each of us dresses who is formal and who is not. But I think that the card tables that served as the children's tables,
Yeah.
which actually were in the kitchen, and that was a good thing because all of the things that didn't make it to the table, to the big table, were in the kitchen anyway. So we could kind of serve ourselves. My mom would leave some extra turkey and some extra dressing and stuff like that in the kitchen so that we didn't have to come and ask for more from the people at the big table.
So we did it basically buffet style across the counters, and all the female adults stayed in the main kitchen. The kids were out in the little kind of garden entry room way, and then all the men were in the living room. And guess who got to eat first?
The men.
Of course. I never got that. But I don't know, maybe women wanted that so they could just get them through the kitchen and get out. Go, 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 go.
Well, that makes perfect sense to me, because if you let them stay in there too long, something will get screwed up. Always. I think that the part that my cousins and I liked the best was that we actually could have our own little conversations at the children's table, and it was almost like having little adults. But then when my older 2 cousins were in high school, they graduated to the big people table. And even though I was 7 years older than my younger sibling, my cousin, who was the girl who was Susan, who was closest in age to me out of the cousins, and I still had to eat with her and her little brother. And we were just like, at least she and I could talk together. I mean, I was just so pleased that they didn't take Susan away from me, That would have been horrible. I can't imagine having a conversation with the other 2. But yeah, it was that, and my mom was always big on desserts. She loved making desserts. And so we always had we had minced meat pie. I don't know if you had the minced meat pie, not that's made out of meat like the traditional one, but the fruit one.
Yeah.
Of course ours had brandy in it, but that was my favorite. That was my favorite pie out of all of the pies. I loved mincemeat pie. And as I grew older, no one liked it anymore, except I had an uncle who liked it. And so every year for Christmas, because no one else would eat mincemeat pie, I would make a mincemeat pie and bring it to him for Christmas with a big ribbon around it and say, Mary, Mary, so
So do you still do your mincemeat pie?
no, Bob doesn't like it.
There might be an occasion we need to make one. We'll have to talk.
It's a lot of chopping.
Yeah.
It's a lot of chopping. And it's so much easier to get the nunsuch in the jar, if you run out of time.
Well,
But
and have you tried, and this is not, an advertisement for them, but who makes the little Walkers? Walkers makes little mincemeat pies.
do they?
Yeah. I'm
I
sure
did
you could
not
just
know
pour a
that.
little brandy.
I like their little shortbread cookies.
Mhm.
Those are yummy.
I've noticed it in the specialty grocery stores that they've had mincemeat pies the last 2 years.
Oh, I may have to look and get one because I haven't had one in a million years, it seems like. Not since I left Louisiana,
Well,
because I had occasion to make one.
and the cremini, they're probably out already.
I know. Like I need one right now. I should wait. I should temper myself and wait. But one of the things, I mean, at your house, was there one person who carved the turkey?
Well, along came the electric knife.
Yes, I can still hear the sound in my ear.
Yeah. I was like, oh, dinner's almost ready.
Right. Yeah, my mom refused to buy one of those for the longest time. And so we had the big knife, the turkey knife. And my dad or my uncle would carve it up.
They scared me, but I guess I can see, the need for it when you're nowadays. When I make a turkey dinner, I'm lucky if I have a little bit of a turkey breast, because I don't have any family left, and
We do.
I'd rather.
Does your brother come down?
No, he'll be sequestered in the winters of North Dakota.
Well, we do about a 12-pound turkey because Bob's parents are coming, and then we use that food saver system and we save some of the turkey in one of those bags from that system and send it home with his parents. But my husband really likes the day after Thanksgiving. He likes his turkey sandwich. He has a specific way he likes it on sourdough bread. I know you're just shocked to hear that he would like something specific. And it's the only time he ever eats turkey 2 days in a row. So
yeah, lots of turkey leftovers.
Yeah. So it's good that he eats it because I'm not going to. But I mean, I like a little bit of turkey, and a little bit of cranberry sauce.
And in the magazine, we kind of go into, why we do all these things that we do. And
Yep.
Again, I nowadays kind of go to a friend of ours for Thanksgiving, and she doesn't like turkey. So each year it's a complete surprise of something really awesome that we're going to have, because she's quite the good cook.
Well, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. It's like turkey, or, Thanksgiving Day surprise. Well, I don't know. What do you call that?
Well, I just found it interesting when we were researching about the first potential menu, how it talked about a lot of the things that we find that we have today it wasn't even possible to grow it during the time that they had the first Thanksgiving. That they, and what we think of as like a pumpkin pie, they did not have that.
Right.
They had, they didn't even have sugar to make the pie crust and to add into the filling. So they would put a gourd directly onto fire and cook the pumpkin inside once had gotten the seeds out, and then put a little bit of honey with it, and that was how they ate it, but their traditional pies were not what we think of today. And sweet potatoes were available. Corn was absolutely available. But a lot of the things that they said that the potential of them having had seafood because of where they were located was definitely something that could have been. They said turkeys were good because they fed lots of people, which this was a large gathering, so they could see that happening, but that they would not be surprised if there weren't fish and seafood at the first Thanksgiving. Yeah. So it was just interesting to hear what things were available. And yes, they did have cranberries. Cranberries are actually the only native North American fruit.
The only one?
That's what they said when in the history books that I was reading.
There's apparently a very good cranberry museum in Southern Washington over on the Longview area. I had yet to go, but one of these days.
Something we have to do.
Too much to do out there. Not enough time.
I know. And all of it requires travel, which is time.
And money nowadays.
Yeah, right. If I could just be bewitched, and
Yeah.
just pop over there and enjoy it all and take my pictures. And
I have a little story to tell you. When I moved over to France, of course, they don't have the same holidays as we do. And I was like, oh my God, it's Thanksgiving. Well, I'll make a Thanksgiving dinner. Well, that means we needed a turkey. So off to the grocery store we go, and they don't have turkeys available. So we ordered one, a whole turkey. We ordered a whole turkey. When it arrived and came in, it was the size of a plump chicken.
Oh my God.
Nothing like the turkeys we think of here.
No, not those 19, 20 pounders, huh?
Yeah. I had to ask if it was really a turkey.
I bet so.
Yeah. But it worked. It was fun.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I introduced him to a lot of things: pancakes, muffins, an actual breakfast besides cigarettes and coffee, and a croissant.
Wow. I can't, it just amazes me to think that people hadn't had pancakes.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. My neighbor, she thought that was the best thing since they invented sliced bread, which is still not that popular over there. But when I go back, I make pancakes.
Oh, wow. That is crazy. That is crazy. I can't even, my aunt was the one who made the best pancakes. And I can't imagine even going to my aunt's house without having a pancake breakfast. And it was with all the cousins and everybody. And it was at the one time I got to eat at the big table because they had a big enough table for all of us. And yeah, it was huge. It was the only time I ever got to drink grape juice. And because my mom wouldn't buy it, she might buy orange juice, but Tang was at our house.
Yeah. Tang was pretty popular. A high C.
I see, but it was really Tang and KoolAid. Everybody was into KoolAid. Yeah. So
since we're on that quick subject, did you save your little labels so you could send them in and you could get things? How it made your fingers all full of color?
Yes. And then there was one particular spoon that your mom used to stir the KoolAid, and it was like 15 different colors. Yeah. My actual behind recognizes that spoon because that was the first thing my mom would grab to give me a spanking. So for years, I did not drink Kool-Aid.
No, Paige, you needed a spanking?
No, no, not me. I would never.
Well, in my house, yeah, oh yeah, right. Well, I had an older brother, and so I was the one that tested all of the rules. And he was
No.
always the one saying, I wouldn't do that if I were you. So they actually had a piece of wood that had been, made in a gift shop. I think they bought it as a souvenir somewhere. And it had a picture of Bambi at one end and a bear at the other end. And it said on there, for the cute little deer with a bear behind.
Oh, that's cute.
Because it was the paddler. And
How
those kids,
cute is that?
it is in my world. I was one of those children that needed that, so it was not abuse. I tested it. I knew the consequences.
But something wouldn't let you stop.
Oh.
That little voice in my head was not strong enough. Oh my goodness. And look,
You
we still turned out
did
okay.
And it turned out okay.
I think we turned out just fine. So, what would you say is our challenge to go with this Halloween and Thanksgiving podcast today?
Oh gosh. That's a hard twist to put it on me the first time. I mean, for me, it's like this starts the season of festivities. Just don't be a bump on a log. Go out and create some memories. Because look at how much fun we have when we go back and look at them now.
Right.
And you want to do the same thing for yourself, for your children, with your friends. Yeah, go create memories. Make yourself a costume.
Right.
Yeah. And now we have so many things to work with. I can remember one year I wanted to be an angel, and it was in grade school. And these were the days when you could dress up in school, and then you paraded around in each classroom. I was always tortured. People bullied me all the time, but I wanted to be an angel. I took an old white sheet and actually cut out a straight dress. Then I took tinfoil and I cut out stars and stuck them on my dress.
Oh, how cute is that?
And I can remember this one kid saying, what do you, is that a wedding dress? You want to get married or what? And I'm just like, oh.
Kids can be cruel. I mean, kids can really be mean.
Yeah.
That was one thing I did not tolerate when I was growing up, was when someone else was mean to another person. It got me in trouble because then it got blamed on me. But I just did not like people being mean. Didn't like it.
Well, I hope they've learned their lesson. I mean, that's like one of the last things you're mean to is an angel.
Right. But I mean, also, it's Halloween. You're supposed to dress up and do fun stuff, not be ugly to other people. So
Right.
I just think that you, if you enjoy children, then go and enjoy, even if you don't have any kids of your own, go with your friend who has kids and go with them and go trick-or-treating. It'll make it more fun for your friend. And it'll be fun to watch the kids' expressions, especially if it's like one of their first times to ever go. And it just, that kind of stuff, make those kind of memories, take lots of pictures, make a little baby scrapbook for the kids to remember that one outing by,
And hopefully you won't get pork chops.
Yes, that would be really good. And with Thanksgiving, try to get together with family members,
or create a family if you don't have one.
Right.
There's a lot of family orphans out there.
Yes, people who can't go home for the holidays or don't have a family to go home to, invite them, have them be part of the group, and probably make their entire holiday. So just, be kind, get out there, make some memories, help other people make memories too, because it's all, remember, whatever you put out there is going to come back to you.
Right. Yep. That's the best idea right there.
And as we say at Another Vintage Day, the only thing that you need to make this happen is to say,
let's
do it.
Yes.
let's. So
And
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, just remember that we have a website, event, anothervintageday.com,
We do.
and purchase copies of our quarterly magazine there. It's digital. So there's no paper to fuss with. You just get to flip right through and read all the stuff. There are no advertisements. It's all content. And Luann, where else can they find us?
They can also find us over on Patreon. If most of you are watching this, you're already with us on Patreon. But at Patreon / another vin that's correct, not right. It's patreon.com / another vintage day. And you can see us if you're just listening to us, you can see us over there making fun about life and our lives. And we also are on Instagram, and you can see some videos also on YouTube, and everything is under Another Vintage Day.
All right. So we hope that you get out there, make some memories, and have yourself another great vintage day.
Okay, folks, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I'm so glad you were here to be part of this journey with us. We appreciate all your support here, and we'll be bringing you lots more fun episodes soon. So remember, living your vintage lifestyle all begins with saying yes, let's.